When it comes to food security, the road ahead looks rocky. A perfect storm of challenges, including disease outbreaks in agriculture, worsening droughts, rising tariffs, and ongoing supply chain disruptions, is setting the stage for a major food shockwave. While inflation has already pushed grocery bills higher, this next wave could leave prices skyrocketing and shelves emptier than we've seen before. Signs are here, and it's no longer a matter of if, but when. This is why now is the time to prepare. Certain foods are already showing vulnerabilities, and once the tipping point hits, getting your hands on them may become more of a challenge than you expect. From pantry staples to everyday essentials, there are 10 key foods that experts are warning will be the first to see dramatic price hikes. The good news? Knowing now gives you an edge to act before the shortages and price spikes take hold. So whether you're a savvy budgeter or simply wanting to stay ahead of the curve, this guide will help you identify the foods most likely to be impacted and what you can do to brace yourself. Time is of the essence, and preparation could make all the difference. 1. Kitchen. Chicken has long been a global kitchen staple for its versatility, affordability, and availability. But lately, this reliable protein has become unpredictable. If another major disruption hits the food system, chicken prices could soar. Several factors are driving this issue. First, the ongoing battle with highly pathogenic avian influenza, HPAI, essentially a bird pandemic, has led to over 166 million birds worldwide dying or being culled. When HPAI hits, entire poultry facilities are wiped out, causing major supply chain disruptions. Farmers face lengthy recovery times as barns must be disinfected and left empty before introducing new flocks. Combined with rising feed costs due to global grain shortages, high energy prices, and increased labor costs, chicken is becoming more expensive to produce. The impact is clear in grocery stores. Shelves once stocked with chicken cuts are now sparse, and prices have surged. Boneless chicken breasts are pricier, and even rotisserie chickens are smaller or costlier. Large poultry producers are diverting more product to international exports, leaving less for domestic markets. Trade restrictions, import bans, and rising insurance costs for smaller producers add more strain. However, there are ways to keep chicken affordable. Stock up. When flash frozen chicken breasts are on sale, grab extra packs for your freezer. They last months and give peace of mind during shortages. Try alternative cuts. Thighs and wings are often cheaper than boneless breasts and just as flavorful. Learning to butcher whole chickens can also save money. Preserve. Pressure can chicken, or use other preservation methods to build a stockpile. Monitor trends. Watch for sales, talk to local farmers, or check USDA updates on outbreaks and supply issues. If another severe HPAI wave occurs, we could see limited chicken at stores or fewer options on menus. Preparing now with smart stocking, flexible meal planning, and alternative cuts can help manage rising costs. Chicken may no longer be the cheap, dependable protein it once was, but small adjustments can keep it on your table. 2. Sugar. Sugar is everywhere, in baked goods, ketchup, syrups, and more. But as the next crisis looms, sugar is becoming increasingly vulnerable to price hikes. The reasons are piling up fast. One major issue is global supply. India, the world's second-largest sugar producer, has seen its production drop by 25% due to erratic monsoons, extreme heat, and flooding. To make matters worse, India has stopped sugar exports and may need to start importing by 2025. Brazil, the top producer, is also struggling. High crude oil prices mean more sugarcane is being used for ethanol instead of food, reducing global availability and driving prices up. These supply problems are already affecting markets. Raw sugar prices have climbed over 40% above the 5-year average, with record-high volatility. Since sugar is a key ingredient in many processed foods, this inflation is hitting everyday staples like bread, marinades, and baked beans. Bulk sugar prices have spiked, and some retailers are limiting how much you can buy. To prepare, treat sugar as the essential commodity it is. First, stock up. When stored properly, sugar lasts up to 20 years. Airtight containers, mylar bags, and desiccant packs help keep it dry and pest-free. Second, remember sugar's versatility. Beyond sweetening, it's vital for fermenting, preserving, herbal remedies, and even basic wound care. While artificial sweeteners can replace sugar in some cases, they lack its chemical stability and preservative qualities. Sugar might seem unimportant, but investing in a supply now can save you money and stress later. Stock up, store it carefully, and be ready for rising prices. 3. Potatoes. If there's one food that's a staple in almost every household, it's potatoes. But they're under serious pressure, and the ripple effects could hit your wallet hard. Right now, potatoes are facing a multi-layered crisis that's threatening their affordability and availability. First, the global supply chain for potatoes has been thrown into chaos. Across Europe, countries like Spain and Portugal struggled with severe planting disruptions due to catastrophic floods. Their usual spring crops largely collapsed, leaving Europe scrambling to make up the deficit. North America isn't immune either. With Europe turning to the US and Canada to cover the shortfall, pressure on potato supplies here is mounting. And of course, Mother Nature's unpredictability isn't helping. States like Idaho, Washington, and North Dakota, known for their potato production, are dealing with inconsistent weather that's messing with yields. On top of that, input costs for potato farming have gone through the roof. Fertilizer, diesel, packaging like cardboard boxes, and labor costs have all surged. It's a perfect storm for farmers, and those costs are inevitably being passed down to us. The impacts are already visible in many places we least expect. Fast food chains are cutting fry portions, ditching combo deals, and charging more for side items. Even potato chips are shrinking in bag size or narrowing their flavor options, all while prices climb. And if you rely on shelf-stable potato options like instant mash or dehydrated flakes, those are also predicted to spike in price. But there are strategies to brace yourself. Store fresh potatoes properly in a dark, cool, and dry place, never the fridge, to extend their shelf life. If you're feeling crafty, you can dehydrate your own potatoes for future use in soups or casseroles. Even better, consider growing your own if you have space. If all else fails, diversifying your starches might help ease the burden. Potatoes may seem like a humble food, but they're integral to so much of what we eat. Take action now to secure your supply, because this potato crisis isn't slowing down anytime soon. 4. Tomatoes. Tomatoes are a food we don't often think about until we're out of them. They're not just a staple in so many kitchens, but also a critical ingredient in countless meals. Unfortunately, the cost of tomatoes could soon skyrocket, turning your favorite pasta sauce or pizza into a much pricier indulgence. The challenges start at the border. A new 17% tariff on tomatoes imported from Mexico is slated to go into effect in July 2025. This move could send tomato prices soaring, as the U.S. already depends on these imports just to keep up with demand. Domestic production simply isn't enough. And Canada, which has been a reliable supplier of greenhouse-grown tomatoes, is also faltering. High natural gas costs have forced Canadian growers to scale back, leaving even less supply to go around. This isn't just a North American issue, it's a global one. Countries around the world are now competing for processed tomato products like tomato paste, further driving up prices. What does this mean for us? Think higher costs for canned tomatoes, pasta sauces, pizza sauces, and pretty much anything involving tomatoes in a jar or can. Restaurants will feel the pinch too, making tomato-based dishes more expensive on menus. But I believe in being proactive. You can brace yourself by stocking up now on canned tomatoes and other pantry staples. If you're up for it, preserve your own tomatoes by canning or freezing them. Growing your own is another fantastic option, whether it's cherry tomatoes for snacking or paste varieties for sauces. Feeling adventurous? You can even dry tomato slices or create tomato powder for long-term use. The tomato crisis is real, but with a little planning, you can keep your meals flavorful without breaking the bank. 5. Orange juice. Is there anything more classic than a glass of orange juice with breakfast? Unfortunately, what used to be a simple, affordable staple is quickly turning into a luxury item. The orange juice industry is facing a perfect storm of challenges, and it's only a matter of time before these difficulties hit our wallets hard. For starters, Florida, which has long been synonymous with orange juice, is seeing its worst harvest in 88 years. Culprit? Citrus greening disease, a relentless plague that has crippled orange groves across the state. With fewer oranges to squeeze, supply is plummeting. Brazil, the world's largest orange juice exporter, isn't faring much better. An El Niño-driven drought has devastated their yields, adding to the global crisis. If that weren't enough, new U.S. trade policies have slapped tariffs on Brazilian orange juice concentrate. This is driving up costs even further, creating a ripple effect that consumers can't escape. Right now, producers and retailers may not fully reflect these soaring costs due to legacy contracts, but once those contracts expire, expect sticker shock. And while demand for orange juice holds steady in schools, hospitals, and other institutions, the quality might start to decline. We could see bottlers raising prices, shrinking container sizes, or diluting the juice itself. What can you do? First, consider alternatives. Vitamin C tablets or flavored drink mixes can help bridge the gap without breaking the bank. Take advantage of sales on frozen orange juice concentrate and stock up while you can. Not from concentrate juice can also be frozen to preserve its quality. If you live in a climate that can support citrus trees, growing your own oranges might be worth exploring. Orange juice as we know it could soon become a luxury. By planning ahead and thinking creatively, you can still enjoy the taste of this breakfast classic without the premium price tag. 6. Beef. Beef has always been a powerhouse at the dinner table, but we're entering a new era where it might become more of a rarity. This isn't a case of temporary inflation. It's a deeper, more complex issue that's reshaping the beef industry as we know it. Years of drought have devastated U.S. cattle herds, and the repercussions are staggering. Ranchers, struggling with high feed costs and dry pastures, were forced to sell off cattle early. Even heifers, crucial for breeding future herds, weren't spared. The result? The U.S. cattle inventory is now at its lowest since 1951. Rebuilding these herds is no quick fix either. Best case scenario, it could take until 2025 or later, and only if weather conditions improve in the meantime. Meanwhile, both American and global demand for beef remains sky high. This has driven prices to record-breaking levels for slaughter-ready steers, making steaks and even ground beef increasingly expensive. To make matters worse, international buyers are snagging premium supply contracts, edging out domestic consumers. The heavily consolidated slaughter industry also adds to the vulnerability. A single disruption from a labor strike or a cyber attack could rattle an already strained system. Still, there are ways to adapt. You can stretch your dollar by buying in bulk, whether it's roasts, briskets, or even going in on a quarter or half cow directly from a local rancher. Investing in a vacuum sealer can help preserve larger purchases, while pressure canning is a great way to create shelf-stable meals. Mixing ground beef with beans, lentils, or vegetables can also stretch portions without sacrificing flavor. For long-term options, consider stocking up on canned roast beef, freeze-dried ground beef, beef jerky, and other shelf-stable products. With climate risks threatening feed costs and water rights tightening, beef prices aren't likely to drop soon. Now's the time to stock your freezer, build relationships with local ranchers, and get creative with preservation. Beef might be under pressure, but we can adapt to keep this beloved staple on our plates. 7. Soybeans. Soybeans might not grab headlines, but they are the quiet backbone of the global food system. From animal feed to soy oil and plant-based products, they're woven into nearly everything we eat. Unfortunately, that makes soaring soybean prices an issue we can't afford to ignore. The demand for soybeans is outpacing supply, largely driven by China. Chinese buyers dominate the global soybean trade, and concerns about their large-scale stockpiling are growing. This constant demand is shaking up the futures market, with prices jumping due to tight stocks and unpredictable weather patterns. To make matters worse, soybean oil, a critical component in renewable diesel production, is now being diverted from food markets into energy. Millions of gallons are being used for fuel, shrinking the supply available for grocery store essentials. Adding to the issue is limited crushing capacity to process soybeans into usable oil and meal, creating bottlenecks in production. The fallout is already hitting grocery stores. Prices for tofu and soy milk are climbing, while snack foods fried in soy oil are costing more for less. And the problem is everywhere. Even if you don't buy tofu or drink soy milk, soy hides behind countless ingredient names impacting nearly every aisle. It doesn't stop there. Higher prices for soybean meal lead to a chain reaction, driving up costs for pork, chicken, dairy, and eggs. This protein price hike hits hard if you rely on affordable staples like ground meat and eggs. There are ways to prepare. Start by stocking up on shelf-stable plant-based milks, and make sure to store extra soy oil in glass mason jars with oxygen absorbers for long-term use. Consider diversifying oil choices to include canola, sunflower, or even ghee. Learning to freeze tofu or tracking feed prices for backyard animals can also make a difference. With soybeans affecting everything from snacks to protein costs, a little forward planning can go a long way to keep rising prices in check. Stay alert, stock smart, and adapt where you can. 8. Onions. Onions might not be the star of the show, but they're certainly an unsung hero in kitchens worldwide. Whether it's a base for soup or an essential ingredient in your favorite marinade, onions quietly pull the flavors together. Lately, though, even this humble staple is under threat. India, the world's largest exporter of onions, has turned the global supply chain on its head. Back in December 2023, the Indian government banned onion exports completely, driving prices through the roof. Since then, their policy has been anything but predictable, toggling between restrictions and steep export duties. The ripple effects of this chaos are being felt everywhere. Other countries just can't fill the gap at India's scale, leaving the global onion market hanging by a thread. Here in the US, we're already starting to see wholesale onion prices creeping upward, meaning that rise will soon hit retail shelves. It's not just fresh onions that are feeling the squeeze. Processed products are taking a hit too. Sauces, seasoning blends, frozen dinners, and restaurant dishes are all becoming costlier as onion prices climb. Restaurants in particular are struggling, as ingredient costs eat into already tight margins. To make matters worse, onions don't have the longest shelf life. Any disruption in logistics increases spoilage, making supply chains even more fragile. With these compounding issues, it's clear that onions aren't as replaceable as we might think. Luckily, you can take some steps to prepare. Start by buying onions in bulk while prices are still relatively steady, and consider curing them to extend their shelf life using old-school methods. Dehydrating onions, whether as slices or powder, can make them shelf-stable for much longer. If you have space, growing green onions or chives at home is a quick and easy way to bolster your supply. Additionally, diversifying your flavor base with alternatives like leeks, shallots, garlic, or even celery can help ease the burden of rising onion prices. Now's the time to keep an eye on policy changes in major onion-producing countries. A little foresight now can help secure your pantry later. Don't wait for this everyday essential to become an unexpected luxury. Stock up, store smart, and prepare for whatever's next. 9. Lettuce. Lettuce might seem like the epitome of abundance in the produce aisle, with its crisp greens piled high. But beneath the surface, this staple is surprisingly fragile and faces a growing number of threats. If you've noticed lettuce prices fluctuating or bare shelves in the salad mix section, you're not imagining it. Nearly all the lettuce in the U.S. comes from just two regions: California's Salinas Valley and Yuma, Arizona. This geographical concentration makes the supply chain inherently risky. If one area faces challenges, there are few backups. That risk became reality in 2022 when the seasonal handoff between the two regions broke down, leading to dramatic price spikes. And with over 43% of U.S. farmland still in drought, growing conditions in the West remain under pressure. This delicate balance isn't tipped just by climate conditions. Lettuce has a notoriously short shelf life, making it highly vulnerable to transportation delays, rising fuel prices, and labor shortages. Harvesting lettuce is labor-intensive, and finding enough hands to get it from farm to table is becoming increasingly difficult. The consequences ripple far beyond the produce aisle. Lettuce is central to fast food menus, meal kits, deli salads, and countless prepared foods. When there's less lettuce, or prices rise, it impacts everything from salads at your favorite lunch spot to the convenience foods you rely on during busy weeks. But you don't have to ride the ups and downs of the lettuce market unprepared. The first move: reduce reliance on it as your go-to vegetable. There are plenty of hardier greens that can stand in for lettuce, like Swiss chard or kale. If you have outdoor or indoor space, grow your own cut-and-come-again lettuce varieties. They're easy to cultivate and keep producing. Another strategy is to dehydrate greens for a shelf-stable option, or invest in freshness hacks like wrapping heads in paper towels to better regulate humidity. Now's also a great time to rethink how you use lettuce and make adjustments before shortages hit harder. Lettuce may look abundant, but its fragility means it's time to treat it as the precious resource it's becoming. Plan ahead, use what you have wisely, and start growing if you can. 10. Black pepper. Black pepper is truly the king of spices. No matter where you go in the world, you'll find it sitting on tables seasoning everything from soups to salads to sauces. Yet this everyday essential might be heading towards some major price jumps, and it all goes back to a mix of global challenges. A huge portion of the world's black pepper comes from Vietnam, which produces about a third of the global supply. Unfortunately, production there has been struggling. Prices for Vietnamese pepper have soared to over $6,700, 0 cents per metric ton, driven by collapsing inventories, farm abandonment, climate disruptions, and bottlenecks in export logistics. Farms simply aren't producing at the rate they once did, and getting what's harvested out of the country has become increasingly difficult. The problem isn't limited to Vietnam. Indonesia, the second largest exporter, is also facing serious challenges. Drought conditions in the Amazon region of Brazil are making things even worse. Low river levels are creating transportation headaches, leaving pepper stranded far from markets where it's needed. Meanwhile, global stockpiles of black pepper have plummeted. For the third year in a row, demand has outpaced supply, and experts predict the same for 2025. Strong demand from North American and European markets is only adding fuel to the fire. With restaurants and food service industries bouncing back, there's been a renewed surge in orders for bulk spice mixes. Black pepper, of course, is a primary ingredient in these mixes, intensifying the competition for limited supplies. These factors make black pepper a prime candidate for skyrocketing costs. For something so small, its impact is huge. Higher black pepper prices could ripple through prepared foods, restaurant dishes, and even the grocery aisle, where we grab our spice jars. If black pepper's iconic status lands it on the luxury list, there are a few ways to prepare. Buying in bulk today could save you from paying inflated prices tomorrow. Consider vacuum sealing peppercorns to keep them fresh longer. Alternatively, think about diversifying your spice game by experimenting with other robust seasonings. Black pepper might feel inevitable on our tables, but its place in our kitchens is becoming a little less secure. Whether you're cooking at home or dining out, those modest flecks of spice might just become a bigger bite out of your budget. Now's the time to stock up, investigate alternatives, and keep your spice rack ready for whatever's next. It's clear that staying ahead of rising food prices means being proactive and prepared. From staple ingredients to specialty items, understanding which foods are at risk of skyrocketing in price can help you make smarter choices for your pantry and your wallet. We hope this list gave you valuable insights to act on, whether it's stocking up, finding alternatives, or simply budgeting more effectively for the future. What are your thoughts on these rising food costs? Are there any other items you're noticing creeping up in price? Let us know in the comments below. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more tips and updates. Together, we can stay informed and ahead of the curve.